the contributions of minorities. And so I kind of, after we had that discussion about the different groups that we were watching Red Tails, but I told them to look at different types of communication that was used and use an example from the movie. And then from that, Amy did the body scan with them, and then we went back to the Aikido with the different types of responses.
Right?
So I'm just a little confused. So when it gets to the assertive one and the person pushes, like I was supposed to spin like I was going to dance with her, right? Okay, and so that's where we were kind of confused because she thought we were supposed to grab each other and like skip off. But I couldn't really get into everything because I have these two students who constantly, like, we know you don't want to be a part of it. And like we're asking, and it gets me so frustrated because, you know, it's not that me. Now there's another adult in the room and I can't stand when my students like to be disrespectful. And so it like kind of knocks me off, and it's hard for me to get into the mindfulness just because of these two who likes to do things to try to get other people's attention. Even with the putting the head down and blah, 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 and this and that, they just have to make an announcement to it. So I felt like my activity didn't go as well as I had hoped, and I envisioned it, or what have you. And so when we're doing that, the question I have, I guess, is when we're doing the response to, see, I can't even think. When we're doing that part, are we supposed to use words, or do we just keep it quiet?
So you can do it two ways.
Okay.
I mean, it's actually very cool sometimes to just do it in silence.
Okay.
With the person coming at you looking angry, and then you responding in the different ways and just watching what happens. And I'm pretty sure there's videos on the thing
here.
That's what I was going to bring my next question.
You have to ask Bianca that because.
I mean, can we do?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Can
I was like, why are you
just
asking
do it
me?
each. Oh yeah, yes.
Just
we
to-
can
Oh,
kind
to
of get a
see it.
feel.
We could,
Yeah,
we could do any
Sarah,
and all of the
because you're
above.
across from me,
Maybe we
can
could
do it.
do 2 lines.
Oh, do you want to do it in 2 lines?
Or just 2 people in the middle. I don't
Let's
care.
just do it this way, just because I think it'll help. It'll
Okay.
be easier for you to see.
Okay.
I'm wondering, like, I think it's just going to be like our waists on the video. So do you want to look at the video and maybe pull it back so that the video?
No, actually, we have.
Make sure
Both of
Belinda's-
us?
We have, yeah.
No.
Wait, what? What did? Oh, Kalinda.
Here, and it said, make sure Kalinda's in it.
I mean, Sarah's not in it right now.
Right, but she'll come into the frame, so I'm not too worried about that. Like, you can actually come at me and I won't. I'm in the frame, right?
Yeah, you're good.
So you can come at me and I won't move.
Okay.
But you have to look a little more peeved.
So are you telling them to be angry and?
Right,
Yeah.
not like I'm gonna deck you, but just it has to have some energy.
Okay.
So Sarah's gonna
Absolutely.
come and I'm gonna do whatever I do. Right, and like one of the things you can do is you can actually talk about, if you're gonna discuss it, you can talk about how does it feel to be the person who's being attacked? And then when I do whatever I do, how does it feel to be the attacker and have that response? Because like a lot of kids, when you do that one, they're like kind of like, well, what happened? And like I was looking for a fight and there's no fight, and I'm gonna bum. Like I want you to fight back, man. Okay, next one. You know, and you can look really angry, and we'll talk about the voice thing in a minute. But you know, it's like it's like you're not pushing me around, and it has some energy. So now next one. And again, it's like, well, where'd she go? You know, and that's kind of like the first one where you come down is like submissive, like please don't hurt me.
Because I was like,
But the
this.
next one is just like you kind of just sidestep them,
Yeah.
and that's the passive aggressive one.
Mm.
And then the last one, we'll just make sure we'll do it this way just to make sure that it's.
Well, what's avoidance?
So then it's like this,
Oh.
where I'm turning her to see my point of view and she's turning me to see her point of view.
Okay.
And, you know, people aren't really expecting that either. Avoidance is like the passive aggressive one, it's like
Yeah.
stepping to the side.
Okay.
And the thing is,
Now
like
I'm
one of the things you could have done with those boys
Mhm.
is you can say, do you know that you spend your whole day like coming at the world like this?
Mhm.
And it's like, if you really stop to think about it, like, I don't know, to me that's just exhausting. Like it takes a lot of energy to be cool and sassy all day, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you're not learning anything.
Nothing.
So,
And
you
they
know,
get a grade for this, and that's what I was telling Amy. I'm like, okay, you're gonna get a grade if you participate or whether you don't. And even if you don't participate, as long as you're not distracting and trying to cause, you still get the grade. But that right there is like, no.
right, and then,
Yeah.
but then this goes back to the other funny piece is this goes back to also your own practice.
Mhm.
Because they are counting on you being hooked and irritated.
Mhm.
And it's like, and I know you have this in you because you've said it on other occasions, but it's like, I see you trying to push me in the
Mhm.
hole, and I'm not going.
Mhm.
And I know where this street goes for you,
Mhm.
you know, and you can pull out the grade book. I know where this street goes for you.
Yeah, that's looking very bleak.
You know, it's like, this is the choice you're making. You know, but, and then just to go back to like whether you're gonna have verbalization or not was the thing, like you can add words to it, so if you're ducking down, it's like, please, please, no, no, don't hurt me, I'm so sorry, you know, like hyper apologetic.
Mhm.
And then, like the sidestepping is kind of like, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
and then the angry one is, no, you're wrong and I'm right and I disagree and that's not okay, and then it, you know, the turning one is like, I hear you, I hope you hear me, you know, like, can you see my point of view? And the thing is, sometimes when this is taught in mindfulness circles, there's the implication that the turning thing is always better.
Mhm.
Like, it's always better to use the assertive approach, and that's just, it's just not true, right? Like, and I'm gonna use a really simple one, but like, if you're a mom and you take your kid to the doctor and you're like, the kid is sick, and the doctor's like, your kid is fine, it's like, no, my kid's not fine, and I'm not leaving, like, I know my kid, it's not okay, or, you know, some of the political things that we've been through recently, like, there's definitely places where it is not only called for, but like actually necessary to push back. The thing about mindfulness is being able to choose.
Choose which one.
And most people, they're passive aggressive all the time, or they're aggressive all the time, or they're submissive all the time. And it's like, mindfulness means in each moment, can I choose
The right.
the
appropriate.
wisest response?
And that was a connection I was planning to make. I mean, because the way we did it was, they were in groups, and they had little lap boards, and I had the names on the board, and we would do it, and then the group would have to guess which one we did, or whatever. And I was supposed to make that connection on why this was important to do, or whatever, but I was just so like, just.
Right, but you
Yeah.
have, and I'm
children.
not the best historian, so the historians will have to help me out, but like, if you're teaching history, right, you can take this into a history context, like, right, as a country, or, you know, I mean, any country, there are places to hold your ground, and to fight, and to not cede your borders. And there are other places where, you know, if we look back at what we did as a country, or what someone else did as a country, it's like, you know, they might have wanted a compromise there. Or, you know, and so, I mean, and you can do it again with novels. Like, how is this person responding or reacting? What are they doing? And like most characters in novels, right, they're like us. They have their mode. Like, they always fight, or they always flee, or, so you can, you know, but then you can bring it, so you can take it from history or the novels or whatever to, you know, when, I'm going back to Judy's example, like when someone this is your clothing, like what's your default? What are your other choices? And most of us have one that we're terrified to do, right? So like, if you spent your whole life like kind of fighting for your existence and your value as a person, the last thing you want to do is like let your guard down, right? If you spent your whole life being a people pleaser and you feel like that's how you got into the world, the last thing you're going to do is like stand up and take a stand. So, and it's not that one's better or worse or whatever, it's just like know your default, because no default is always going to be right. And so you have to also know, like, I'm not comfortable, like, we all know tons of people, I'm not comfortable with conflict. Well, at some point, sometimes conflict's called for, like when your values are breached or whatever. And so, people, they can, and they don't need to, you can, this is one of those ones where you can also just ask questions, like, and you don't need to, they don't need to write anything, they don't need to say anything, but like, even as I'm talking, right, you guys are saying, well, what do I usually do? And what am I afraid to do? And just even that internal process with never saying anything to anybody has value. And I think, first of all, it was really brave for you to try, especially to try before we talked about it. And second of all, like, I don't think, whatever you said, what did you say? It was a good word, like a complete, you didn't say complete flop, but it was like you said something like that. I think, however it went, you can pick up those threads again. Like, it's not like you did it and it's done and you have to give up on the whole thing. It's like, that thing we did last week? Well, now I want to talk to you about how it's relevant in history and relevant to you personally. And it's like, it's not a flop, you're building on something. So give yourself credit.
Okay.
And then I just want to come back to the impulses one. So I actually love, and you guys can watch what happens when I do it now, but I just love like saying the word itch. So what happens when I say the word itch? Does anybody have an itch that they weren't aware of before?
Yep.
And you can say, I'm going to say a word, I want you to watch what happens, and I don't want you to do anything with your body. So, because then the other thing they get to learn is like, you can want to scratch an itch, and it can be a physical itch, or saying something nasty, or eating something, or doing some other high-risk behavior that teenagers do. You can have that urge to do it, but you don't actually have to do it. And if you want to play, you can throw in other words, like cookies, and go to the beach, and test, and movies, right? And like different people respond differently to things. If I say dance, I think woohoo, and my husband thinks, it's just, but you can just watch that one word, and we play with it a little with some other, like, inducing stress. One word sets off this whole cascade of thoughts and impulses and urges, and so you can just play with that if you want
I
to.
think that might be a nice way to start the day, doing that, and then move into the,
Yeah.
and then say 10 or 15 minutes for loving kindness. Goes by so fast.
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, each of you is finding your rhythm and like what you feel comfortable with and what you can fit in based, you and Kiernan are